Is this season 2? I wasn't even ready yet. So what? Do I just insert a hot take here or something?
MyT!
LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to repeat, but they are going to play the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Championship, and the Jets are going to be in the Super Bowl. You don't get much hot taker than that.
MyT!
Take that.
MyT!
Brooklyn style, baby! Brooklyn style!
MyT!
Good morning, and welcome back to another edition of the MyT Sports Podcast. I am your host, the one and only Talented Taylor. September 3rd. It's a lovely 81-degree day here in South Florida. We have a whole lot to talk about. I know what you're thinking. The podcast is either a little early or it's a little late, depending on when's the last time you've heard it or how you're used to getting it. Yeah, you're right. It's a little late. There's complications. But listen, based off those complications, I already know we don't have time to get into those complications. We got a lot to get to today, right? We have this is gonna be a controversial show today. Just to let you know. Like we gonna talk. Finally, we're gonna talk about that Kevin Durant move and what Derrick Rose said. We're gonna talk about Colin Kaepernick's stand. We're gonna talk about this broke back moment, and not to mention my Mount Hatemore finally comes up, and more. So, without further ado, you know what I say, regardless of the time and regardless of the weather, it's always a good time to talk some sports. So, let's start talking. Listen, it's been a while since we've had our last podcast, and also based off the fact that it's a little out of schedule, a lot of things have happened even since then. So, as the NFL preseason is basically now at its end, the one thing that is continuously dominating the airways is quarterback. We talked about this last week on the show just a little bit. Touched on it just a little bit. You know, Mark Sanchez, a former Jets quarterback, eating up airways, because he can't keep a starting job in Denver, and he's not going to be able to keep that starting job in Denver. Tim Tebow, a former New York Jets quarterback, was eating up airways because he's trying out for baseball. We had Ryan Fitzpatrick that was eating up all the airways. Tom Brady finally gets his just due and he finally gets suspended. But even out of all of that, even Tony Romo, Tony Romo, 100%, I'm going to tell you right now, Tony Romo is cursed. He had to have sold his soul to gotten the starting quarterback job for the Cowboys. I think he went to the demo and was like, I don't care what I have to do. I don't care if I never ever win a playoff game. I just want to start for the Dallas Cowboys. And he was like, wish granted. You will have the 10-year plus career and you will not do playoffs. He's like, you know what I mean? He's like, yeah, I'll take that. And that's what he got. Because, geez, man, this guy can't catch a break. When he was healthy, he didn't have healthy receivers. And then by the time he had the one good healthy receiver, he wasn't really healthy. So... And then he finally gets a running back, and then they ship the running back away. It wasn't a perfect running back for that system. And then he gets hurt again. And then he gets hurt again. And now... what happened to Drew Bledsoe may just happen to him. And listen, it's the name of the game. Eventually it's gonna happen to Tom Brady. Eventually too. It happens to all of them. It's gonna happen to Drew Brees. It's gonna happen to the guy in Green Bay, Brett Favre. It's gonna happen to all of them. It happened to Donovan McNabb, even though they haven't found his replacement yet. So, it's something that's going to eventually happen, but Tony Romo, at the worst possible time that this could happen, because now they look like they found their running back again. They finally feel like they found the running back that's going to be cheap enough for the next 3-4 years that they can take into the future and possibly try to get something out of the end portion of Tony Romo's career and the middle portion of Des Bryant's career. Because Des Bryant is about to be in that peak zone. Or is in that peak zone. Tony Romo is well out of it. He's done. So this is the worst possible time, but it opens up the opportunity for this kid Prescott, and Prescott has looked well. He's looked decent. He's looked favorable. So it leaves room for possible growth and possible hope, because they're like, listen, if Tony Romo could do it, then this kid looks like he could possibly do it, and you keep it real vanilla, and you're talking about an overusage of the run and a lot of passing. Like, you just gotta find some defense. That's really what it is. If that defense can hold up, then you're looking at something. Because really, what's gonna happen is that they're gonna have, they can't eat up clock and run. No, they have to put up points still. And that's probably the only thing that Tony Romo was definitely going to do, was going to sling that ball around, stand there and sling that ball around and move the tempo of that offense, because that's what he's done for years. He's done without a defense for ages. So we gonna see, but the biggest NFL discussion, it really was crazy, because in the early beginning, I wondered if you were calling him Kaepernick, Kappa Knucklehead, or Kappa Nigger. Yes, and I meant that with the hard ER as possible. And seriously, you have to look at his stance and realize that if you're not calling him anything but Kaepernick, then you were wrong. And now, like I said, and we're talking about, and just to let you know how different things are from how I had to write up this script originally for a podcast on Tuesday versus what's now a podcast on Saturday morning, how the narrative have changed. That's the funny thing to me, because initially I was going to have to come in here and grossly defend Kaepernick and his decision, because it was the fact that everybody was looking more at his actions and not taking it to the message that he was trying to get across, and that is the fact that there are people in power that are out there to protect the people that are abusing it. And anytime we see that, we need to fight against it. Listen, I've done it myself as a military person, against sergeants that just abuse their power. It's something that nobody likes to see, and nobody likes to have done. And when it's done to you, listen, you feel the need to lash out against it. And there needs to be people that are willing to be the blunt force of whatever initial backlash is going to come. I have no problem being a lightning rod, and I guess apparently neither did Colin Kaepernick. Like I said, we're not even going to talk about me on this one. Let me keep this as far away from me as possible. So, initially I was really going to have to come here and defend Kaepernick, but now what happened is that people are seeing that, he's doing stuff, and I don't really even agree that people are like, let's see what he does next. Why does he? I never saw why he needed to do anything next. Because Camilla Anthony, because let's listen what's happened, right? Peacefully, very peacefully, Snoop Dogg has gone and met with the chief of police and individuals in his community, and that hasn't. And even though that's gotten initially a little spur, that hasn't done much to cause change. Camilla Anthony, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Paul stood in front of the ESPYs, in front of the world, and made a statement, and that has really caused change. The WNBA women wore T-shirts to represent how they felt, and that barely caused change. Finally, Colin, when I say barely caused change, I'm talking about barely caused a slight buzz. Colin Kaepernick decides not to stand for the national anthem. And listen, I am a soldier. You are talking to a military veteran, and I was not offended. I was there with him. There have been times I have not wanted to stand for the national anthem because I knew what was going on, with people in my own military, being discriminated against. And listen, don't not get it twisted. It does exist everywhere. And yes, when I was in the military, we're talking about early 2000s, the early portion of the 2000s. You understand? To the middle portion of the 2000s. We're talking about from 99 to the middle of the portion of the 2000s, okay? And yes, there were still good old boys in the military in command that did everything to make your life miserable. If you were a person of minority, if you weren't just a yes sir, no sir, yes sir, no sir, yes sir kind of individual. I'm sorry. While other people you saw do the same exact accident, it was just XYZ being XYZ. Oh, it was just XYZ being X. You know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of ish that a lot of people got away with, and you see it all the time. Listen, me personally, just trying to get in regular clubs down here, that I have to go get my Spanish friends to come surround me to show that, hey, I'm just one regular person, that because I'm getting discriminated at the door for some odd reason. Like, so it happens. So I've been arrested for walking backwards. Yes, walking backwards. So let's not act like I've been pulled over because they said the brand new car that we just got registered gray and not red. Pulled over more times when I had my Infiniti than when I had my Toyota Corolla. In Florida. Granted, I was driving everywhere else in the world and never got pulled over. Driving Florida with an Infiniti, all of a sudden I could barely go 2 lights without being pulled over. Drive a harmless Corolla, same driving style, same driving pattern, actually. Never get pulled over. Invisible. See? And same exact actions. So, like I said, and I've had reasons, even at sporting events, where I'm like, I really don't feel like standing for this national anthem because there's just times where this country does make you sick. Like, but Colin Kaepernick's message was being overshadowed by a lot more than just that. You know what I mean? And that's what people were feeling, to see that there was an underlying message than him just standing for the national anthem. Because listen, it's not offended. Throughout the time that he's done that, and now you've seen how many soldiers have come out and backed him. Even before he said, "Hey, this wasn't aimed at the soldiers," like he didn't even have to say that. That it wasn't aimed at the soldiers. This wasn't a shot at it. We perfectly understand. This is about the people that are abusing their power. So anytime you say, "Oh, so what about all the black on black crime?" What you're trying to do, you're throwing a subject in there to deflect, because black on black crime has nothing to do with people in authority abusing their power. When you say, "Oh, where was the Black Lives Matter movement during the event that happened in New Orleans?" Once again, you were trying to deflect from the original fact. That is not something that they handle. That has nothing to do with the people that are in power that are abusing it. So when you say all these things, you are just basically trying to say, "Hey, shut your black ass up. What about this?" That's where the continuous outrage comes from, because now you're trying to say that, "Oh, he should keep finding different ways." Well, listen, different ways were found. I just gave you different ways. Snoop Dogg met with the police. 4 superstars in the NBA stood in front of the ESPYs. Stars in the WNBA wore T-shirts to represent. And you told them, and all of them basically went ignored, except for the one in the WNBA. You told those girls to shut up, and they initially got fined. And all these police officers that says that, "Oh, they're offended by the venue." No. See, what I don't understand is that what you should be offended by is that you have people within your ranks that are making all of you guys look bad as an organization, that causes your community to distrust you. Because basically what you're doing when you say, "Oh, we just won't go support your events," is that, you know what? We support all the bad cops that are out there, 100%. That's all you're saying. So keep up with your ignorance. That's all you're showing. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we will talk about something that hasn't happened in basically over 40-something plus years. That and more on the Mighty Sports Podcast.
Saving up for a vacation is way easier said than done. If you've ever been through the pain of trying to put money aside every month to reach your goal, you'll know what we're talking about. It's time to get help from someone who can turn your goals into reality, once and for all. Introducing TheyPay, your new friend and ally, who'll do all the dirty work for you. TheyPay will use your active checking account to automatically round up your everyday transactions to the nearest dollar, transferring the spare change into a secure TheyPay savings account. Our idea comes from the old method of putting away spare change into a piggy bank. 1. Create your VayPay account and choose a unique username and password. 2. Register your active checking account. And 3. Continue to use your debit card as usual and let us take care of the rest. Get in touch with VayPay today to find out more. Save up for any vacation or special event. 1 penny at a time. VayPay, now available on App Store.
Thank you, and welcome back to the MyT Sports Podcast. Again, as I said, I am your host, Talon T. Taylor. And if you are listening, you are either listening on SoundCloud or on TuneIn Radio. TuneIn Radio is going to be for next day listening, for my next day folks. And don't worry, I am very much trying to find a way to go live for you guys. Right? Because I think that's going to be the best way to go in the future. So, no, we're working on it. I told you, there are things coming. There are a bunch of things that I've been working on to come. So, we're slowly working on that. But if you listen on SoundCloud, it's as best as you're going to get because you're getting it as soon as it's finished. So, if you're getting on SoundCloud, you literally get it minutes after it's been recorded. Within minutes. Probably within seconds. Oh, you can listen to TuneIn and get it the next day. Just saying. Just know that you get this pretty much unfiltered, uncut, unedited. 100% raw. Remember that. This is as live is going to get. There is no second takes here. We do this and we come clean and we just deliver it to the folks and you get it into your ears and you absorb it and bam.
MyT.
So, if you have something, if you have something to write with, like, this is going to be that time. Ladies, if you wanted some fantasy football tips, now is the time. Basically, right now is when we are going to talk pretty much about what's going on in fantasy football and a couple of these positions and how they are currently going to be ranked. So, if you're new to fantasy football, this is the time to pay attention. If you haven't quite done your research now, this is your time to pay attention. If you just want a quick refresher, this is your time to pay attention. Get something to write with real quick. In about 16 seconds, we're gonna start this. Right, so ladies, this part is like, because I know I have the fantasy football league that is starting. This part is really kind of meant for you. So here we go. It's coming real soon. And the very first thing we're going to talk about is the most important position in fantasy football. And that is the running back position. Don't get it twisted. I know in real football, everybody's always trying to douse the quarterback and things like that. No. The most important position in fantasy football is the running back position. And we're going to start all of these from the number 10 up to the number 1 running back, up to the number position, right? And number 10 running backs is going to be Jamal Charles. And Jamal Charles has basically always been one of those dual threat kind of running backs that is going to give you weird production, right? He's going to give his running back numbers, because he's basically one of those guys that's over 30 that's coming from, one of those knee surgeries. So he's going to give you a dual threat. He's going to give you running yards and he's going to give you passing yards. That's what makes him a top 10 running back. Now, he is injury prone, but he's still a good option. And the thing about Kansas City is that Kansas City has always found ways. I shouldn't say has always found ways. They have had struggles trying to score. So what happens is that I don't know how many touchdowns he's technically gonna put up, because Kansas City just has a weird, sputtery kind of offense. Sean McCoy is the number 9 running back, and he is the running back for the Buffalo Bills. And even though he's a great running back, probably the reason he's coming in at number 9, because I look at some people here, and he shouldn't be coming in this low, is the fact that he's in a Rex Ryan kind of offense. And if there's anything that we know about Rex Ryan and his offense, is that they're inconsistent. And that is going to be the thing that's going to plague his production, is that we know that Rex Ryan likes to ground and pound. But Rex Ryan just hasn't been utilizing his team right for the last couple of years, which is making his productivity level sputtery. Devontae Freeman from Atlanta, I think he's getting a big push, just because not only did he show some decent work last year, but he's going to be benefiting from what's considered I guess you want to call it, he's no longer being a running back by committee. He's getting the number one workload worth of drives from Atlanta. And that's going to be the thing that's going to help his numbers. And that's why he's coming at number 8. And that's also kind of the same thing that's happening with Mark Ingram at number 7. Is that for New Orleans is that he puts up decent numbers, but the number one thing that he benefits from, and all these guys are dual threats. And that's the thing about the NFL now. Unless you're just a ridiculous downhill runner like Adrian Peterson and you just can't be tackled, a lot of these guys all are dual threat running backs. And so that's where Mark Ingram's going to get. He's getting the benefit of technically getting number one. I'm getting a majority of number 1 reps because they need to keep some kind of honest running game in New Orleans for that offense to be for them to be productive, for them to be stable and to continue to move that ball. Now the number 6 running back is coming up in Ezekiel Elliott, and all these guys, I think LaShawn McCoy should be ranked ahead of. Just to let you know, for my personal opinion, the only reason I think LaShawn McCoy is ranked so low is because of the fact that he is in Buffalo and he is being coached by 2 Ryans. And 2 Ryans don't make a right. I still don't believe it. But we'll see. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it helps Rich Ryan focus on his offense more than anything else because he doesn't have to worry about his defense anymore because he gets a like mind on defense. But we'll see. Ezekiel Elliott comes in number 6, and Ezekiel Elliott has proven nothing except for the fact that he is the number 1 running back coming out of the draft. And he is going to be behind the best offensive line coming into the league. Now he has a rookie quarterback now in Prescott, and when these were done initially, Tony Romo was still the starting quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see if his ranking has dropped any. I would assume that his ranking may even stay the same or jump just slightly, only because of the simple fact that we're talking about his workload may go up now even more because he's going to be even more of a safety blanket for the quarterback since this is now a rookie quarterback. Number 4 is Arizona's running back, David Johnson. And David Johnson is another guy that I'm believing his ranking is kind of high just because of the fact that he's no longer going to be a victim of being a running back by committee, and he's just gonna get the majority of number 1 touches. And just like Devontae Freeman, he showed enough flashes last year and did a mediocre, because really what they did was a mediocre kind of job, and did a mediocre and did a decent enough job that their projection for this year has jumped. Once again, another person that I will take LaShawn McCoy over. I'm just saying. LaShawn McCoy is just a slightly more proven running back. I just think that he is being held back based on the simple fact that he is, as you know, say it with me, he is suffering from a Rex Ryan system. All right, number 4. Now the number 4 running back I really believe should be the number 3 running back, but the only reason why he's maybe even number 2, but the only reason why he's ranked number 4. And it's because he's going to be suspended for the first 3 games of the season. And then, maybe it's a good thing that you didn't get the last podcast because the last podcast I said number 4. I said number 4 so many damn times. I sounded like Biggie, like kicking the door, waving the 4-4. All you heard was,
MyT!
Don't hit me no more. But no, what happens here is that he's actually going to be suspended for 3 weeks as it's been reduced 1 week. And that's the only reason why he comes in at number 4 is because he has no productivity for you until week 4. But Le'Veon Bell is one of the best running backs on there, and you have to think about it. There's a Pittsburgh Steeler ranked in the top 10 in every single position. At least the ones we're going to cover today with the running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks. And we are coming up on this pretty quickly on this next break. we may not even get to the wide receivers and quarterbacks before this next commercial break. But we will get to the wide receivers and quarterbacks before the show is over. You can guarantee that. Like I said, this is going to be this week and next week are both going to be tailored around fantasy football. So you're going to get 3 of them today. We're going to get the running back, the wide receivers, and the quarterbacks today. And next week, you are going to get the top 10 tight ends, defensive, special teams, and kickers. You know, everybody likes a good tight end. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. You know, you play defense, or you get kicked to these special teams. All of that matters. So Le'Veon Bell comes in at number 4, and he is one of those he is definitely one of those dual threat running backs. He could catch and he could pass. I mean, he could catch and he can run. And oh man, can he catch and oh man, can he run? So he's coming in at number 4, but he is more like a top 3 running back. Now, Lamar Miller for Houston. This is probably the most surprising one of them all because I probably would drop him just slightly. And even him, I would take Sean McCoy over, but I'll probably have Lamar Miller right behind him. And Lamar Miller gets such a big boost mainly because of the fact that he's actually going to be utilized. You understand? Like what's basically happened is that he left Miami because he wasn't being utilized, or he didn't feel like he was being used properly. And now what happens is that he comes over to Houston, where he knows that they run a zone scheme system and they like to run, and he feels he's going to be utilized. And they know and he knows also another thing. They like to run the ball because, listen, they want to keep a decent pace, and they also know that their defense is decent enough and elite enough that they may be able to they're going to get a lot of chances. They're going to get a lot of chances at getting the ball back. So basically it's going to be pace versus pace for him. So he's basically getting this big of a boost. And he's also good. He's getting this big of a boost because he's actually going to be utilized for once. And it also kind of seems like Houston and Miami just basically did a trade because it's Arian Foster went over to Miami. And even though Arian Foster has been a good running back at times, his number one thing is that he hasn't been able to stay healthy these last couple of years. But if he's not being utilized, well, let's worry about staying healthy. And when you're not healthy in Miami, you can just go out and go party. So we'll see. You know, hey, Arian Foster and Dominican Sue, like we got like a yin and yang kind of personality. Like one likes to meditate, another one likes to stomp people's heads. This is gonna be interesting. Now the number 2 running back rated for fantasy football, and I have no argument with this because of the fact, like I said, Le'Veon Bell is injured. Is Todd Gurley for the not St. Louis, but for the L.A. Rams. And Todd Gurley showed last year why he deserves to be ranked this high. And as long as he continues to do what he's doing, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't continue to be ranked as high as he is. He is a solid solid first round pick, to be honest with you. First round pick. Like and let me put this out to you very, very solidly. If you do not have at least a top 10 player in every single position that that when you have your fantasy football, then don't expect to win. Don't expect to win slightly. So you need to have a top 10 running back, a top 10 wide receiver, and a top 10 quarterback when you draft. If you don't, then good luck to you. This is not your season. You're basically playing for fun. And the number 1 running back in the NFL, for fantasy football purposes, in the NFL period, still, the reigning king, Adrian Peterson. And that because he is still a bulldozer. He is still a bulldozer of a man. And unless he's injured, or unless he's being suspended for over punishing his kid, like we just have to wait until to see that he is slowed down. And even though like you know we know that for a short period of time that Marshawn Lynch was surpassing him and in yards for a short period of time. It was for a short period of time. Adrian Peterson's been doing this now for damn near a decade. Let's not forget that. So those are your running backs. This took a lot longer. I thought I was gonna be able to get to all of the positions in this segment. But I guess when we come back, we get to talk about wide receivers, and yes, we still have to talk about that thing that hasn't happened in 40 years. Trust me, we will get to that. That and more on the MyT Sports Podcast.
put you in a game. Being taken advantage of isn't a game and it needs to stop. Aren't you tired of being ripped off by those other guys? Then head to Multiverse Video Games and get the value you deserve on your games and gaming products. The games cost money, and you shouldn't feel like just giving them away. So why continuously buy a membership for prices and deals that you should be getting anyway? Multiverse Games not only has fair pricing and great trading deals, Multiverse has a wide variety of games, not just all your popular next-gen titles, but also all your favorite old-school titles and systems, starting as early as Atari and Nintendo to as current as PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. And yes, that does include PlayStations, GameCubes, and Xboxes in between. Even family-owned and operated for over 10 years, just off the intersection of 183rd and 7th Avenue in the Nurses Registry Plaza. That's conveniently located at 830 Northwest 183rd Street, Miami Gardens, Florida 33169. Believe it or not, just 5 minutes from Sun Life Stadium, $7.90 the ticket, and oh no, let's not forget Tootsie's Adult Entertainment Center. Multiverse Games, where you save more so you can play more.
Welcome back to the MyT Sports Podcast. Woo! Had to make a quick run. Didn't realize I was coming back so soon. So, as we get back into the next segment, and listen, we got to finish. We will finish this up. We have next the wide receivers, and I'm sorry, I did forget to mention as we was talking about running backs. As we were talking about running backs, right? I forgot to give you my honorably mention. And the honorably mention of running backs is number 18, Matt Forte. And Matt Forte, even though I think in most times would probably be he probably would have been ranked in the top 10, probably replacing a guy like a Mark Ingram or something. Inconsistent jet offense mixed with the fact that he's not one of them guys that are coming over 30. So he probably could have broke top 10 in probably maybe two years ago if they were looking if they were looking a little bit more consistent. But I don't think they'll know. But I still believe he's a guy to get, as long as he can stay healthy, and also know that he's going to be having his time split with Bilal Powell, right? And he's going to be a dual. He's also a dual threat running back. He's gonna run a decent amount. He's also going to catch a decent amount. And depending on what he can produce when he's doing either one of those is going to be his value. But listen, there are guys out there that if you just thought that the Jets were a little bit more consistent of a team, you would take him over. Like, he should be, to me, in this top 10. Or at least 11. So up next is the wide receivers. And funny thing about it, as we're talking about these fantasy football wide receivers, I also kind of talked about these wide receivers last week because these are basically going to be the same exact bunch that Des Bryant was that was all ranked ahead of him. As we got into the number 10 wide receiver, and that's going to be Brandon Cook for New Orleans. And the reason why Brandon Cook probably comes in for New Orleans, because if you're like me, you probably know one thing: you don't trust New Orleans wide receivers, and that's probably the reason why he's ranked so low as well, because he puts up numbers. It's because Drew Brees is a very feared quarterback. Like, he is great. Drew Brees is freaking great. Like, he puts up like 5,000 yards, 4,500 yards, like every single freaking season. Like, he's a freaking great quarterback. He just doesn't have a favorite target for shit. There it is, 34 minutes and 38 seconds in. I knew it was coming. But in all seriousness, Brandon Cook comes in as the number 10 wide receiver for coming out of New Orleans, and that's and the only reason is because he could take the top off of offense, and he has a lot of yards after productivity, and also isn't New Orleans also getting back? No, I'm sorry, I was about to say Jimmy Graham, but I forgot Jimmy Graham is in Seattle. I was actually thinking more about Jordy Nelson, but Jordy Nelson is in Green Bay. I don't know how I get Jordy Nelson, Jimmy Graham. I'm confused all the time. Yeah, I guess say it right. You can just say it right now. You can say it. I'm not saying it. Right, but that's only. But I think Brandon Cook is ranked so low only because that Drew Brees just passes that ball to everybody all willy nilly, and he doesn't have any kind of favorite target. And if you are gonna be a productive person when it comes to him, it's gonna be what you do when you after you catch the ball versus of how many times you get the ball from him. Des Bryant comes in at number 9, and Des Bryant is gonna be lucky that he comes in at number 9 because he has a rookie quarterback. Currently, right now, as this stand, this may be the perfect ranking for him because he has a rookie quarterback, and we have no clue what's going to happen in Dallas. Like, people say, like, yeah, Des Bryant is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Yes, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and that's probably the only reason why he's being respected this well, because he's one of the best, wide receivers in the league, and he's also coming off of an injury, and he has a rookie wide receiver. Just saying. It's like keep being mad all he wants. Brandon Marshall comes in at number 8. And for as much as I told you that Matt Forte was number 18 because of the fact that, you know, they kind of have an inconsistent offense, I think Brandon Marshall is slightly ranked. Maybe he's properly ranked. Because he was part of a tandem last year, duo last year that definitely allowed them to be ranked the number 1 wide receiver duo in the league with him and Brandon Marshall. Or not him and Brandon Marshall, here and Eric Decker, who was honorably mentioned at number 19. Right, so Brandon Marshall comes in at number 8 from the New York Jets. Number 7, who I believe that Brandon Marshall should be head of, is Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson out of Jacksonville comes out, and even though I have faith that Jacksonville is taking strides forward, this is a prediction that Jacksonville is really taking strides forward. Like we see them taking baby steps in a positive direction. This is saying that they are going to take leaps and bounds in a positive direction. That's what that says to me, because the fact that Allen Robinson is up here and somebody in it, I think in the same, and not, let's say, Evans out of Tampa Bay, even though Evans had like some of the work, like had the most drops for anybody in his position last year. You know what I mean? But it makes you wonder, like, what they expect out of Jacksonville this year, because that means that their running backs should be ranked top 15 as well. And so should their quarterback. I'm just saying. Like, I don't know about Allen Robinson puts up some decent numbers. I don't know if he's ranked if he's top 7. I don't know if he's better than Brandon Marshall once again. But Brandon Marshall being ranked that low may just be yeah. Brandon Marshall being ranked below him may just be the fact that he just has an inconsistent wide receiver quarterback at times. And we're really trying to see what's gonna happen, but I think that's kind of a slap in the face. Jordy Nelson comes back off an injury and he gets ranked at number 6 for Green Bay, for the Green Bay Packers. And Jordy Nelson is Jordy Nelson. AJ Green for Cincinnati is going to be ranked number 5. And once again, like, these are two guys that given maybe not Jordy Nelson, but Jordy Nelson's coming off an injury, so I don't know what they expect off of him, from him. But Brandon Marshall, I believe, should generally be even ahead of those two guys, only because I know that AJ Green is going to be missing a week for the birth of his daughter. And also, AJ Green has had injury issues the last 2 years. So AJ Green is one of my favorite has been one of my favorite wide receivers to pick up when nobody's been paying attention to him for the last 2-3 years. Like, I just been scooping him up, and nobody's ever paid attention to him. You know what I mean? And I've always been able to keep him as like a solid number 2 a solid number 2 wide receiver. But this year, I have ill faith in him, birth of a daughter, and injuries, and maybe that extra bye week, maybe him taking that extra week off because of the birth of his daughter may help, and also the birth of his daughter may also help him motivate to ball out. But I don't know, I'm a little worried about him. Up next, we have DeAndre Hopkins out of Houston, and DeAndre Hopkins out of Houston, even though I know he's a bad boy, I don't know about their quarterback, but that's a testimony to basically. And I think this is all a testament to the fact that I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm unaware of maybe Houston's offensive line. Is that what it is? I'm not sure. You know, Lamar Miller being ranked so high. You know what I mean? DeAndre Hopkins, I know he's decent, but I don't think he should be ranked higher than AJ Green. You know. So we'll see what happens there. Julio Jones comes in at number 3 for Atlanta, and Julio Jones is another one of those freaks of nature kind of guy, and we'll see if he can continue to be consistent. And then number 2 is Odell Beckham Jr. Number 1 and the number 1 wide receiver in the league. I'm sorry. Number 2 is Old Dirty Player, Odell Beckham Jr. And he's ranked that high, and he's ranked number 2 because he makes a ton of fancy catches. And Antonio Brown comes in as the number 1 wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And as I told you, that Pittsburgh. So if you see a team here that has a top 10 running back, top 10 wide receiver, and a top 10 quarterback, you should have them projected to be to be a decent team. So right now, like what we're looking at is that New Orleans is projected to be a good team. Definitely, as we said, Pittsburgh should be a good team. Houston is projected to be a decent team then. Arizona? Sorry, Arizona doesn't have a top 10 wide receiver in here. But that's only because Arizona also passes the ball around and has 3 decent wide receivers they could go to at any given time. Alright, so now here goes to the position that should be thought of third as the third most important when it comes to your fantasy football, and that is quarterback. And we are still talking about, listen, people, in some drafts, Cam Newton was going in round number 10 last year. If it was, listen, in my draft, Cam Newton went early because the person that drafted just really wanted Cam Newton, so she took Cam Newton a little bit early because she saw another quarterback come off the board early. Right, so she was like, shoot, quarterbacks are coming off the board early. She took Cam Newton and she ate it up. But listen, in every single mock draft that I did before then, Cam Newton was being picked in round 8, round 9, round 10, and round 11. So you can pick up decent quarterbacks, and the reason why is because the scoring differential is slightly different for quarterbacks than it is for wide receivers and running backs. While wide receivers and running backs get a point for every 10 yards that they produce, quarterbacks get 1 point for every 25 passing yards. So that is the difference in production. When running backs and wide receivers get a touchdown, they get, I think it's 6 points, and quarterbacks get 4 for that same passing touchdown. Now, what happens with some of these quarterbacks is that now what happens that we get dual threat quarterbacks. So they benefit from the 1 point for every 10 rushing yards, that the same way that a running back will if you have a running quarterback, which is why somebody like Cam Newton comes in rated so high. Russell Wilson, why they rate so high? Aaron Rodgers, the Andrew Lucks, why they rate so high? It was because not only do they give you decent amount of passing yards, they're able to give you they're able to give you points for fantasy football with their feet. And then when they run in a touchdown, they do get that full 6 or 7 points instead of the 4 points than if they only had passed for that touchdown to a wide receiver that scores a touchdown. It all makes sense. Listen, if that confused you, and you just keep listening. Just rewind this part. We're talking about what happened between like the 40-minute mark and the 45-minute mark because we're about to get through these quarterbacks. All right, number 10 is going to be Phillip Rivers, and Phillip Rivers is being ranked at number 10 because Phillip Rivers is Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, but he just hasn't been doing well lately. Phillip Rivers, San Diego Superchargers. That was for you, Megan. You and you alone. Number 9 comes in as Eli Manning, and like I said, Eli Manning is projected to put up decent numbers, but this is for the fact that, listen, Phillip Rivers, good quarterback, puts up 4,000 plus yards, but he's a stiff. So that's all you're counting on. Eli Manning's going to put up 4,000 plus yards. He's going to pass a bunch to Odell Beckham. He has now another secondary wide receiver that's supposed to be young and put up numbers. Once again, but Eli Manning is a stiff. So he comes in at the number 9 wide receiver. Ben Roethlisberger. Now, Ben Roethlisberger is just hard to take down. Ben Roethlisberger used to put up a little bit more yards with his feet. Now he just takes pride in being one of the best upright, erect quarterbacks in the league. As he is gonna have and his target is the number 1 wide receiver in the league. But not only that, his running back that he's gonna get in week 4 is one of the best catching running backs out of the backfield in the league. So he gets it from some of the 2 best players in those other 2 skilled positions. Like I said, Le'Veon Bell can be argued to be the best running back in the league just because of his dual threatness. Listen, it's part of the reason why I tell people I think LaDainian Tomlinson is a better running back than what's this guy's name? The running back from Dallas all those years ago. I forget his name. But that's why I think he's a better running back than him. And even a better running back than the guy from Detroit. Like Curtis Martin and LaDainian Tomlinson, I think, are the two best running backs in, like, two of the top 3 best running backs in history. And they should probably be the 2 best running backs in history, like in my case, based off their dual threatness. Well, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about more. Because listen, we talk about a lot. We talk about a lot of dual threat this and a dual threat that, right? But listen, there's only one dual threat that really matters, and that is what you're doing on the weekends. So listen, stop being stuck trying to figure out what to do on a Friday again. Stop worrying, stop thinking, and head to Capone's Nightclub in Fort Lauderdale. This is where you go to find my boy DJ Scepter. This is me familiar, right? He's gonna be mixing in the lounge room. And this is where you're gonna start, where you can start dancing so you can start drinking. Or either or. You can even start drinking and then start dancing. Listen, it's vice versa, people. Have your fun wherever you want to have it, but make sure you have it with DJ Scepter. This is going to be every Friday from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Ladies, you bring that sexy of yours so you can sway. Fellas, you bring that swag so you can lay. Listen, it's going down at Capone's, and yes, wait, there's more. The Capone is not the only thing that DJ Scepter does. If you need something to do on a Wednesday, and we're talking about every single solitary Wednesday, you can catch DJ Scepter at O'Malley's from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Listen, DJ Scepter, he's playing every single where you want to be. We're talking about birthdays, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, bar mitzvahs, weddings. DJ Scepter puts that world touch on everything. And if you need to reserve them, just go to bookings at djscepter.com. And welcome back to the MyT Sports Podcast. I am still your host, the Talon T. Taylor. And can you believe it? Show's almost over. Show is almost over. And we still haven't fully gotten through these quarterbacks yet. And we still need to tell you about that thing that hasn't happened in over 40 years. Trust me, that will happen. That will take place, and we will talk about it. Right? So, number 7 coming in at quarterbacks is going to be Carson Palmer, and this is due to the resurrection of Carson Palmer's career of more than anything else. And even though I told you that Arizona doesn't have a top 10 wide receiver, Arizona is still going to be one of those top teams because they do have what's considered a top 10 running back. And why they don't have a top 10 wide receiver, they have 3 middle of the ground wide receivers, led by Larry Fitzpatrick and 2 other guys that I can't remember their names. But also remember, they also have an elite defense: Honey Badger, Patrick Peterson, and a bunch of other guys I can't remember their names. Right? So Arizona is going to be another decent team. So even though you don't see them with a wide receiver ranked, I'm pretty sure they have at least 2 wide receivers ranked higher than Eric Decker, who was, remember I told you, honorably mentioned, ranked number 19 for the New York Jets. And also, as we talk about honorably mentioned New York Jets, as we do a quick recap, Matt Forte for the New York Jets is ranked number 18 amongst running backs. Eric Decker is going to be ranked number 19 amongst wide receivers. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is ranked number 20 against quarterbacks. And that's because, once again, Ryan Fitzpatrick is Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he is inconsistent. And Ryan Fitzpatrick probably would be ranked higher because he is a semi-dual threat, because he does run a decent amount of times. Just can't slide for shit. But he turns the ball over a little bit too much, so he's inconsistent. And like I said, and that's ultimately the reason why Brandon Marshall's ranking, I believe, is so low. But continuing with the quarterbacks, Tom Brady comes in at number 6, and that's because Tom Brady's going to be suspended for the first 4 games of the season because he's a cheater. Drew Brees comes in rated at number 5 for New Orleans Saints. New Orleans. Right? And Drew Brees is basically Drew Brees. And once again, Drew Brees is probably one of the most mobile of some of these stiffs that we mentioned down here. All right, but Drew Brees is also one of those guys. He's still one of the most consistent 4,500 passing yards per year kind of guys. 5,000 passing yards. Remember, the first to do it, you know what I mean, even before we're talking about Peyton Manning and Tom Brady did it. That was Drew Brees. And Drew Brees doesn't show any kind of favoritism. A lot of times he passes that ball to whoever the open man is. He has one of those kind of things, and he also likes his big targets. So, I mean, and also I did fail to mention that Brandon Cooks' probably boost is also due to the fact that Jordy Nelson is also now in Seattle. That's probably also the reason behind this boost. And as we continue with the top 5 quarterbacks, number 4 comes in and Andrew Luck. And Andrew Luck is Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck has been a bad boy. He's been doing his thing. And what's going to happen with Andrew Luck is we're going to hope that he gets some kind of protection. More than anything else, we're going to hope he gets some kind of protection. And we're going to hope he can stay upright. And we can hope that he can stop turning that ball over. But more than anything, Andrew Luck is going to give you a decent amount of pass yards. He's going to give you a decent amount of rushing yards. But Andrew Luck was a disappointment last year. It was a huge disappointment last year, and we learned that he had a bunch of injuries, on top of the fact that he also wasn't being protected properly. So we'll see what happened, because I don't know what happened. I don't know what's changed much in Indiana. Like, I don't know, maybe I haven't paid attention to Indiana yet, but we do have a week or so to start evaluating some of these teams out here, and I start figuring out if they've done enough to make Andrew Luck continue to look like the Andrew Luck from those first 2 seasons that went 11-5 and made it to the playoffs. And the top three quarterbacks, I have no problems that they're the top 3 quarterbacks, because one of them is a guy that I have also been able to get consistently, because a lot of people have just slept on him throughout the years, probably until just recently, and that is number 3 running back Russell Wilson out of Seattle. That for about the last 3-4 years I have had him, and he has been consistent, because he's just one of those middle of the ground kind of guys that consistently puts up 12 to 18 points in fantasy football every single week. The thing about it, sometimes he's a little bit more consistent than anything else, because in the middle of the season he tells to lull a little, and that lull in the middle of the season is when, like, the whole team lulls in the middle. And it affects his numbers. But Russell Wilson, as you already know, he's a good quarterback. He's made it to the playoffs every single year. He's been quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. He makes smart decisions. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot, and he's a dual threat quarterback. So he's gonna pass and he's gonna run, and he also slides. He's just one of those all around encompassing quarterbacks, and he is now the new golden standard of the shucks kind of guy. He is taking over Peyton Manning's standard, what you should do and how you should act and what you should say when you're a quarterback of a team. Even though he is dating what used to be one of the raunchiest chicks. And I don't think she was raunchy. Like she was definitely just out there in Sierra. I mean, whew. I'm just saying, we all would like to date Sierra. Aaron Rodgers is the number 2 ranked quarterback in the fantasy football. Aaron Rodgers is ranked number 2 because Aaron Rodgers, as you've heard the boy Stephen A. Smith say 1,000 times, he is a bad man. Yeah, he is. That boy can pass that ball. He can pass it overhand. He can pass it underhand. He passes like Brett Favre. He just if he sees an angle to throw it, he's gonna pass that ball from any which angle he can try to throw it. And he can also run. But he's getting up there in age, and he is no longer the most athletic guy in the room anymore. That number 1 spot goes to Cam Newton. Cam Newton showed us last year that he is the head honcho when it comes to quarterbacks. Now, he needs a little bit more maturation so he can help get his team over that hump. But we already know what Cam Newton does. Cam Newton now is going to pass that ball, and hopefully now we're going to see what happens when he gets his weapons back. Because that's also, I'm pretty sure, was part of this projection. But also, he has 2 running backs, right? And now he should have 2 wide receivers. Hopefully, I think. And he's going to run the ball. Cam Newton, your number 1 running back. And I know what you're wondering. Like, what has happened in the last... What has happened in the last 40 years that has never happened in the world? And if you're like, I don't know if you're like me, but I watch a lot of sports, right? And I'm watching sports every single nook and cranny and corner that you can think of. So, like I said, as mentioned before, like I said, this thing that happened in it's been now probably like the past 2 weeks now. It has never happened, right? We had the Little League World Series take place. And in the Little League World Series, as I keep telling you, as I've done a similar event when I've done the Power Showcase that's down in Miami. You know what I mean? when we do this, it's really funny how I watch this, because this is the Little League Showcase, the Little League World Series, or the Little League period is the event that you watch and you see and you always hear this. Now stepping up to the plate at 6'2", 240 pounds, in the 3rd grade, Hector. And I'm like, where the hell are they making these kids at? But they're coming out of somewhere. Right? And look, I guess we ain't going to talk about Kevin Durant, Derrick Rose, or my Mount hate more. But we are going to talk about what's happened in the last 40 years. This hasn't happened. And because you know I'm a homer, and I have to make sure I big up my borough. Because listen, just like Jay-Z said, if I say a big verse, I'm only bigging up my borough. I'm not mentioning I'm big enough to do it. I'm not thorough, plus I know my own flow is foolish. So I got to big up my boroughs. I got to big up my state, my home state. So Endwell, New York beat South Korea 2-1 to win the Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania at Lamont Stadium. This is the first title for New York since Staten Island won it back in 1964. Basically what happened, New York got the lead in the 4th, 1-0, and they never looked back. Took the lead 2 to nothing. Then finally South Korea puts up a point, but never looked back. They win 2-1. And yes, that was it. And listen, while we're at baseball, right? If you pay attention, the last time I did play-by-play at Roger Dean Stadium on August 27th, it was a matchup between the Fort Myer Miracles and the Jupiter Hammerheads, and the Jupiter Hammerheads was able to come out with the shutout as they won 3-0. They were led by dominant pitching by Jorgen Cavanero, right, who was basically scoreless, through 7 innings with 8 strikeouts, just giving up 4 hits and no walks. He was relieved and closed by Steve Farnsworth, who got the save with the final 6 outs, and this was his 2nd save of the year. And the next game I'm going to be doing, and if it depends on how quickly you're listening to this, I'll be doing today at 5:30, but I'll be leaving here at about 1 o'clock. So I can try to get there at 2 o'clock. So I'll start posting things on the MyT Sports Facebook page, and you'll probably see me put something on the what is it? I'll probably go Facebook Live. I was gonna go Periscope, but I may just go put Facebook Live. It all depends. It all depends on how much stuff we get done. So today I'll have a game at 5:30, and it's gonna be the Palm Beach Cardinals versus the Charlotte Stone Crabs. And folks, if you get a chance to listen, this is my last time doing a game for them this season, as the season's about to be over, unless somehow I get lucky enough to get invited to a couple of playoff games. Folks, that's the show. Like, we can't get to my Mount Rushmore of hate today. Like, it's not going to be something that's feasible to get done. But just know that we have something more to talk about for next year. Like, not next year, but for next week. And isn't that what we want? We want to keep finding a way to keep the discussion flowing in sports. And you know what I say, man? Thank you. Stay tuned. Stay blessed. And please, don't stress.
Sorry, boys. All the stitches in the world can't sew me together again. Lay down. Lay down. Always knew I'd make a stop there. But a lot later than a whole gang of people thought. Last call for drinks. Bars closing down. Sun's out. Where we going for breakfast? Don't wanna go far. Rough night. Tired, baby. Tired.
MyT